All right. So coming in to being in our bodies today and feeling into what that feels like at this moment right now. I'm going to start seated. You can be in any position that feels comfortable for you, laying down, seated, standing up. Let me share sound so I don't forget to do that later. And let's just come into feeling what it feels like to be in your body right now. Maybe eyes closed, maybe eyes open, whatever feels good to you. Whatever way it's easier for you to come into sensation, whatever pathway. And it may be different from day to day. Like some days one thing works, another day something else. So let the moment be fresh. Every day is a different day in your body. Every moment is a different moment. And we're going to work with a breath called the Theta breath, which is a soft hiss. And you can take as many resting breaths whenever you need them. This is going to just slow down your exhale. And it's very soft and gentle. So it's kind of a more subtle, relatively subtle breath. So deep breath in. Letting the breath just slowly, lightly escape from your mouth, tongue just behind the teeth, soft S sound or a soft TH sound. I'm just feeling what making that sound, what sensations arise in your body. Like immediately I start to feel parts of my face. I also feel my sense of self moving back and down. So it's like I'm coming in, I'm dropping down. And you don't have to do it every single time. You can take some resting breaths. You can take in the space around you as well, just letting yourself come in for a landing in your body, but also in the space that is around you, in your space. If we turn our head gently from side to side, inviting the muscles and tension in our throat, upper back, neck, jaw, just to release a little bit. And we're giving our primitive brain, our cerebellum, the information that we are safe, our brainstem. We're safe. Nothing is going to happen right now. Relatively safe. So exploring the space of that little bit of head movement, could be a lot of movement, could be a little movement, can kind of stick around in one area, and the sound. So as you're in there, just feeling what it feels like to let that air out slowly like that, and also feel this movement in your occipital joint, in your neck. My head feels very floaty on top of my body. So feeling into that spaciousness, or maybe it doesn't feel like that for you. Maybe it's a different density. Just feeling whatever you're feeling and let yourself hang out in that awareness. In that sort of shamatha, that focal point. Inviting in really micro movement, or if it feels good, bigger movement is fine as well. I just had like an image of the machines like charting heartbeat, or what's the little needle, before it was just totally electronic, but when there was like a needle moving, I kind of feel like that my head is making this sort of, it's almost like electrical impulse movement, like the movement has this currency, current, the current that's going through it. And there's a certain like flow, which I kind of associate with fire, but also with the lightness that I'm feeling in my body. I think of that as sort of an air quality. So like kind of air and fire here in this upper place for right now. I think of the steam, like if we want to add water, the breath being like steam releasing from a radiator. So we could tune into that steam quality of like fire, water, and air all working together, and just feeling what that brings on in your body. Inviting your awareness into your whole head tail connection. So the cranium through the spine down to your tail. I could also think cranium, ribs, pelvis with the spine down the middle. So these big bony structures supporting our organs. Feeling that interrelating movement. Like if I adjust my head a little, what happens in the rest of my body? How much can I sense the movement down and up through my body? And maybe around as well. It's not just linear, it's very free flow, sort of, I want to say infinite potential, but there's all of this potential for where that movement could go. So see if you can start to free up your pattern of holding yourself as you and let yourself be more sort of elemental, like there's this sort of steam release or this current of flow moving through you. Allowing yourself to tune to movement and micro movement as a means of drawing your awareness towards that. So it's like we're bringing our awareness to shamatha with an object, which would be the object is the micro movement. We're feeling into that. Can I bring my focus into that? And it's not that we close off the awareness of everything else. All of that's online too. We're just bringing in this little extra bit. The more often I focus into one little area, the more sort of the global sensation comes online as well. So let it be free. We're not clamping, even though we have this idea of sticking with this awareness in this area. We're not clamping and forcing our awareness in there. We're giving it breathing space. As you're in there, starting to let go of story, if that feels okay, it's just starting to tune into sensation. So it doesn't have to have a reason that you feel the way that you feel, or there doesn't have to be a connection to all this other stuff. You can just be present with the sort of tingling, vibrational, heat, cold, the flows within your body. Yeah, and for me today, for some reason, my nervous system wants to do this little teeny soft jiggle. So I'm just letting it play out. But know all the time that if shaking comes up or if some kind of like big Kriya type movement comes, you can always inhibit it again. Maybe not if it's like shivering. That is a hard one to inhibit. But if it's just nervous system movement, know that you've gotten really good at not moving for your whole life. I mean, that's what we're taught in school. We're really good at sitting still, especially if you meditate. So just know that you can come back to stillness, letting go of the movement. You ultimately have control. But if it feels good to let the little bit of movement start to play, let it play a little bit. Let yourself feel into that, allowing movement to bubble up. And maybe it isn't bubbling up. If it's not, maybe you give it a little bit of nudge, a little exploration. What does it feel like explore the potential movement of my spine, my head-tail relationship. Bringing that in. Coming back to theta breath whenever you need to. If you forget about it and sort of wander off in a reverie, just come back, theta breath, sensation, tune in. Resting breaths whenever you need them. Yeah, for me, the sensation is turned from this sort of more nervous system shaky to more like lava lamp moving. So, which to me feels very much like there's a sort of density to the fluidity. There could be heat with that. Or not. In my case, it's not a heat thing. It's more just like a denser flow, a denser, slower flow happening in my body. So tuning into what comes online and any kind of images that pop up to help describe it for you, if it's interesting to name it at all. Letting yourself release any tight grip you have on who you are and allowing your body to unwind a little bit, to disentangle some of the little tension patterns that might be in there. A lot of times we've learned really well how we're supposed to behave, how we're supposed to hold our bodies, how we're supposed to be in the world with other people. So just for now, let yourself let go of that. Let yourself be more creative, use the imagination, play with possibility. So as I'm getting into that, like my whole body is starting to come more online. Arms want to play, waking up the hands, letting my head tail connection, that snaking movement that's starting in there in my central channel or around my central channel, letting that start to wend its way out through my upper body, through my limbs, winding its way, wending its way, winding and wending, weaving, just inviting this play. And especially trying to wake up the hands and fingers, right? This peripheral edge of our body, maybe even rubbing your hands together, feeling into them, giving them some attention, right? I feel like we take our hands for granted so much. What can they do? How can they hold each other? Oh yeah, it's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Our hands like a heart and a heart together. My one hand, the blood flow from one side and the blood flow from the other meeting together. And just playing with what your hands can do together, maybe. So often we've outsourced all the things that we might be doing with our hands, right? Like technology has got, all you gotta do is push a button. Or maybe just your thumbs are doing the work, or just typing, but without the sense of connection from the heart, from the lungs out to the hands, to the fingertips. So this core central distal relationship, center to edge, radiating out. Gil Headley, who's an amazing anatomist, talks about the heart and says, where's your heart? And people say it's here. And he goes, no, it's everywhere. It's that whole system of your blood, right? One whole system working together, connecting, nourishing, removing waste. And it's doing that, like a lot of those veins and arteries are traveling along in little bundles with the nerves and the lymphatic system. So it's not like these separate things are working over here and over there. They're working together. They're working in harmony. So inviting that sense of harmony out from the blood flow, the arterial blood flow to the capillary beds, back in through the venous blood flow, back to the heart. I have to turn off my Slack. It's making noise. Here we go. And let's add some music. So I did screen share music. Let's go with some ambient fields to play with this. So we'll keep playing with this head-tail connection and also play with core distal, which is out to the edges of your fingertips and then back, radiating outwards, coming back in. And we can also think of that core distal going out to our toes, out to the very tips of our body, or even like to our nose, to the crown of our head. Let's go with song number 1 from album number 3 of Ambient Fields. All of this is available on Bandcamp, but kind of hard to find. So sometimes I remember to put it in the description underneath the class. Letting the sound start to inform you, letting your body receive the sound. Hello, Michelle. I have actually come up to the computer for 1 second. This rarely happens. Oops. So letting the sound inform your body, letting your cells listen and feel the sound. Right, that core distal, you could imagine that your hands are like little octopus tentacles or octopus arms with all the tentacles, really full of sensation and awareness, full of intelligence. I'm going to take it back down to the floor or down to the floor and roll around. Having a good relationship with the earth, being able to get down to earth, is going to bring more coherence and harmony to your cells, to your tissue. Just letting yourself play with the gravitational pull of the earth, connecting down, massaging out your body, as we also play with this core distal relationship. Very gentle, slow, soft, very fluid. I was studying with Liz Koch. She's written all the SOAS books, and I was a dancer, teaching a lot of fitness and moving a lot of ways, and she introduced me to ways of moving that I hadn't seen before, or I didn't know that I could access them. And it was like it's when you let your body start to free up. So maybe there's a little bit of nervous system response where your face kind of does something, or your legs or whatever, but moving from the fluids. So we're not thinking the bones and the muscles. I mean, we can think of them, but if we think of tuning into the fluids and moving from the fluids, it's going to be a very different expression than sort of when we go biomechanical levers and long lever extensions and things like that, but play with the really, I want to say, like icosahedral three-dimensionality of your body, the sort of crystalline cellular internal shaping that we can have when our tissue is healthy. I think I'm just talking gobbledygook right now. But somehow it all makes sense in my head. I once took a class with I think his name is Stephen Levin, and he was an orthopedic surgeon who discovered biotensegrity for himself. Although, like the Lavon people, Buckminster Fuller had been dealing with this for a long time, but his description of the body is it's all colloids, emulsions, and foams. So that's like the stacking icosahedral structures. Like if you ever look at how bubbles stack on the inside level, that's what we're kind of dealing with. So when we shift our relationship to gravity, slowly, we offer the tissue, our fascia, our soft tissue, and even our bones, a different way of forming itself, right? We are informed by movement, and fascia is the organ of form. And if you look at like a video, like it's called Strolling Under the Skin by Jean-Claude Gamberto. He's a fascia specialist, and he made an amazing movie about it. You can just see how like the tendrils and the fluids are moving together inside. And I feel like having these metaphors in our mind are just really helpful when we think about our body as this organic experience. So coming into that core distal relationship with this internal elasticity formed by the fluids, formed by the breath. What is taking the form? The earthy part of our body is creating, is receiving the form. And what's creating it? Our movement, our breath, our fluids. Yeah, so this type of slowed down nervous system where we come into sort of a parasympathetic state, being in sensation without trying to fix, but allowing our body to move in any way that feels good and shifting our relationship to gravity, even if it's really slow and gentle. This is a great way, now I'm going to say, to actually let your body sort of recover. So while we're not trying to fix it, we're not trying to do things to it, by allowing it to move itself, by allowing yourself this time and space, your body can do a lot of amazing things coming back online, like becoming more coherent in your system. And when we listen to our systems and start to respond to what we hear, we become more coherent, right? Our heartbeat, our breath flow, our vagus nerve, everything, our digestion, things are in communication and they're working harmoniously towards our greater good, right? The coherent body is playing a tune. It's in tune. It's synchronized. I don't know, that's not the right way. Harmonized. And coming back to head, tail, micro movement, deep underlying micro movement, and core distal relationship, center to edge. Letting your body receive the sound. Kind of like if your body could speak to you, what would it say? If your body wanted to move somehow, how would it want to move? Can we be in that sort of exploratory, experimental state with it? Not in a objectifying way, but in a deeply experiential, phenomenological way. Being us, being embodiment, right? Being the movement of embodiment. So it's nice to come to this place with deep, deep compassion for yourself and your cells. Your cells can hear you. Your cells know what you're saying to yourself. If you find yourself at odds with yourself, be gentle. Don't beat yourself up because of that, right? You may be in there judging. If you're judging, see if you can become curious about what are those sensations like. So instead of the thought and the story, come into the sensation. What does it feel like when your body starts to be, or when you start to be judging? Always come back to sensation. And I'm going to add one more thing, because for some people, I mean, we've all armored ourselves because we felt unsafe, right? If there's a lot of armoring, and if you feel like it's too much when you start to let go of things, just sit still for a while. Come back to yourself, look around, have a drink of water. No force, gentleness, kindness, nourishing and nurturing. Wakening up the fingertips, wakening up the soles of your feet or the tips of your toes. Sometimes I just ask myself when I'm in this, can I go deeper? Can I go deeper into this experience? Can I go deeper into this exploration? It's not like going deeper into a stretch. We're not forcing it. We're just allowing. We're being curious. Is there anything to let go of? Any old crusty idea? Anything that's not serving? Yeah, we want to be really gentle. It's very no force. It's just allowing. What if you were steam? What if you were water? We are bodies of water, but what if you were like, I saw the water this morning. I live near the Hudson River, and there's a place where there's like a little marsh, and the Hudson River is tidal. And so like, or it's kind of like a little pondy, marshy area. And as the tide is going out, it sucks all the water out. And there's a bridge you can walk over, and all the water is like almost like a herringbone design in the water being drawn out into the Hudson. And then when the tide comes in, it fills back up again. And I was just watching the movement of that water going from that swamp out into the Hudson River. Where it's like herringboning. And I was also seeing like the bubbles, right? The water's moving with a lot of intensity. And there's like bubbles in it because there's so much movement. It's drawing in the air. So it's nice to look in nature at where we can start to use these ideas for our own movement inspiration. I also saw these long, long grasses that are very tall, like 10 feet tall, with a little puff on the top, very dense, along this road near the Hudson River. And it was very windy. They were like blowing in the wind, and it was very bright blue sky. So I'm like, wow, that's some breath, that's some air, right? It's moving all of this earthy material, these big grasses. They're not grasses, they're probably like Japanese knotweed or something, but these tall stalks with a little fluff. It wasn't knotweed, I don't know what they were. With this bright blue behind and this sunny cold day with the sun eating down and the wind, right? We can use those ideas as means of movement. Oh, can I play with that? Can I be those reeds? Can I be that water? Those grasses or trees moving. allow yourself to enjoy it a little bit, right? Enjoy movement. It could be, it might be fun and delicious. What if I was just one grain of sand settling down in the ocean? Connected to all the other grains of sand down there. Once I hit the bottom, I'm there with all of my sand friends. Belonging. You find yourself repeating movement, like repeating the same pattern. Try slowing it down. Or if you start doing like, oh, I know this yoga exercise, I'm just going to do that. Let go of that. Try to go into the places, into the unknown, into the unfamiliar. Unless you really need to do the yoga exercise. If you need to, go for it. But allow the exploration to be like you're walking through woods that you've never been in before. You don't know, right? Allowing it to be new and fresh. It's not the same old exploration you did yesterday. Even if you do this one again, it'll be very different. Every moment is a different moment in the body. Everything is constantly shifting and changing. We're all in this flux together in the moment. And what is it but movement? Continual movement. No point in fighting it. Best just to relax into it. I'm going to turn that down. Just give us a few minutes to process the processing. So yeah, all this stuff can stir stuff up. And sometimes you need to let it just calm down again, or just let your body receive what just happened before we charge off into the next moment. Hands on belly, hands on heart is always a nice way to come back to yourself. Feeling, maybe you're still moving, but if you have stopped moving, just feeling like the echo of that movement in your body. In Lavan, we talk about trace forms, and like the trace form is like if I move my body, if my hand was making a painting, what would be left behind? Like you can see it if somebody has a light in their hand and they circle it around and around, you can see that would be the trace form. So it's this idea of what are the traces left behind of the movement? Or just the awareness. Can I let go of my perfectionism? Can I just be a little bit more okay with the as is, with the as isness of it all? Can I let go of my, oh, I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to do the other thing, and just relax a little bit? It's all going to happen. or maybe it won't, and that will be okay too. If you came along for the ride, thank you for joining. And I'm going to close it out. And like, subscribe, comment, all the things. Because yes.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome. See you.